Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are here at the Around the Ballpark podcast. We are so grateful that you are along with us, listening along and subscribing to our channel. We are very, very grateful for that. Today, we have Isaac Flores on with us. We're going to talk, along our way. We're not just at the professional league ballparks. We also talk about other topics along the way. And today, we're going to dive into softball, a little bit different than the baseball game, but we're going to dive into softball a little bit. As always, I'm here with my co-host, Darren Redmond. And before we get into the chat, he's got a little word for our listeners.
Attention, Palm Bay. Got tax troubles? Nashville Tax Solutions has got you covered. So whether you're behind on your returns, you're facing a lien, or just need some expert advice, their team is ready to help. Hear what some of the clients have to say. Chris Ben and his team saved me from a financial nightmare. They're knowledgeable, they're clear, and they're compassionate. So don't let taxes stress you out. Reach out to Nashville Tax Solutions today. Call 615-502-2250 or visit NashvilleTaxSolutions.com. Or better yet, if you have a question but don't want to make a call, email at info@NashvilleTaxSolutions.com. Nashville Tax Solutions, where tax stress goes to die.
Yes, and as always, thank you, Chris Bennett. Thank you, Nashville Tax Solutions. We'll continue to plug you on each of our posts, but really do check them out. They are a great organization, and Chris is just an easy person to talk to. You won't regret doing so.
He does great work. We get messages from people who say, thank you, thank you, thank you. Chris is a good man. He does good work. His team, excellent.
Yes. So tonight, as we talked about, we're going to dive into softball. But before we do that, we have Isaac Flores on with us. And I'd love for Isaac to kind of just introduce yourself. And then we'd love to kind of hear about what you have a channel as well on YouTube. And we'd love to hear about that and what type of content that you have so that others that are watching this podcast can find you and know where to go.
Okay, so my name is Isaac Flores. I have a YouTube channel as well, as Mike said. My YouTube channel name is salty_fishcake. You gotta remember the underscore because that's what makes it me. You don't want to find a whole bunch of food recipes. I post anything that comes to my head, from skits to how to make certain food items to things that are new that I saw. Like, I have a new video coming out about the Mr. Beast box. And I also have a video of me running into a door. So that's like really wide spoken thing. I like covering everything. I have some of us at their softball games, which isn't really good for me to do, but it doesn't like with the amount of people, because I'm losing a lot of followers that way. But other than that, I really post anything from comedy videos is what I mostly do. It's things to make people laugh, from things to keeping people interested, from skits to basically like running into walls and things. But yeah, you can find me on YouTube at basically like #salty_fishcake, and I should pop up. I'm glad to help Mike out here with his channel and all that, and I plan on pushing him on my side too, so all my Salty Nation will be able to come over to the ballpark and see what Mike's all about.
Appreciate that. And they'll find, although we are a predominantly baseball channel, once they find us here, they're going to know we have some really fun, engaging conversations. We get off track sometimes, but that makes it a little bit more fun. And just before we dive into the softball, Isaac, you mentioned the the Beast box. Was that where they had the two people that stayed in the box for a certain amount of days? And was that
no? So Mr. Beast and Zaxby's have done a collab. So you can go to Zaxby's and get a Mr. Beast Feastables box. It's like this. It's a huge box. It's $14, and it comes with 4 chicken tenders, a medium fry, a medium cheese curd, a Mr. Beast candy bar, and a medium drink. $14. I ate all of it. Did a little review on that. That should be coming shortly.
All right, we got to pump the brakes right now because you mentioned a lot of good stuff there. I just want to pack a little bit because like we mentioned, before, that around the ballpark means not just in the ballpark, it means all that stuff around the ballpark, eating, social stuff. So this is great. There are a lot of people, and I would say most people in New York, no hate mail. And if there is hate mail, it all goes to Isaac. Explain to people what cheese curd is and how it's different, seriously, than cheese.
So a cheese curd is,
Because I love cheese curd.
Yeah. A cheese curd, there's two different types of cheese curds. There's a cheese curd that's breaded and it's been fried to a certain temperature for about 3 minutes, and then it gets really nice and crispy on the outside, and you can pull it apart, and it's gooey cheese on the inside. Then there's the other type that's not bread. It's just a piece of cheese that you throw in the fryer, and then it just crisps on itself. So there's two different types of cheese curds. The more popular ones up north are the breaded ones on the middle western front of the earth of the U.S. And then on the eastern up north, New York and New Jersey section, they like the ones with no bread. They throw it in, and that's the type of way they do it. I work at Culver's. We make a whole bunch of cheese curds all the time. Fun fact: we actually sell 8.3, I think it's 8.3 million packages of cheese curds half a year. So what's that? 16.6 million orders of cheese curds, and they're great.
Let me give some people some life hacks if you're into cheese or cheese curd. And again, people don't eat dairy. I don't want to hear it. I know that's good. It's you be you. But cheese curd is like the ultimate you can eat while you're driving food. It is really spot on. We had where I used to live in California, a lot of dairy farms in Central California. And I mean, this stuff would be made right in front of you. So fresh, so good. And you take it home with you. But no, all you brought home was an empty bag, because by the time you get home, it was gone. It was just gone. All right, that's it. I'm done.
You meanwhile, if you're just gonna, it's just like having that one chip or that one fry, but once you touch it, it's gone.
It's gone.
So, yeah. Hey, honey, I got you fries, but I ate them all. But
that's right. They were really good.
It was a problem with your order again, but not my order every time.
That's right. I don't know what happened.
Didn't you? I asked you, honey, when you get the food, can you pull over and see, like, is everything in the bag? Oh, I totally did. I just,
Yep.
Oh, well.
The eyes are going.
So I'd love to dive into softball a little bit. So actually, for those listeners, myself and Isaac are actually on the same church softball team. I look at softball as there's three kind of leagues, right? You have the ultra competitive that play all the time, that go in, they travel, tournament ball, they take it very, very seriously. Then you have the recreational softball, where kind of like anything goes, but you have a lot of bad language, a lot of distractions and things like that kind of take the fun away from the game. And then you have the church softball league. And having done all three, I can say without a doubt, the church softball league is the way to go. You just show up, you play hard, you have a good time, you're competitive. You don't have to worry about any drama, any bad language, any vulgar music, anything we shouldn't be seeing. And it's just, we come together at the end of the game and we thank our Lord and Savior for letting us do what we get to do and play ball. And so the church softball league that we were part of, we were in our third season this year, and we actually won the championship, which is super awesome. But what's really outstanding about that, those that know what softball, typically you start a team and it takes a long time, even with people that have the same skill set, to get that level. And we were blessed with the team that in only their third season were able to not only win a championship, but go 3-0 and score 67 runs in those 3 games, which is just outstanding. And that's with the 5-run limit, ladies and gentlemen. So, get to just hit all day long. So,
Mike.
Yes.
You can't forget, you were saying all the names of 3 types of softballs. You cannot forget the senior softball league. I went out to go watch one of their games, and it's kind of funny. I mean, it's not funny, but it's kind of funny too. You see a whole bunch of people, it's like 50 to 80 years old, and like not trying to put bash on anyone. Some of them are fast, but most of them are not fast. So when you see them running around I don't know. I enjoy it, but that's not for the wrong reasons. But definitely, that's a completely other one. They had like 60s music playing over there. It was like they had old music for like, it felt like old baseball. It was cool. But yeah,
I played one time in a competitive tournament, and our first tournament game was against it was a church tournament, and the youngest player on the team was 71 years old. and they were up 16-0 on us in the top of the first inning. They couldn't run very good, but they got hits, and they just kept base hit, base hit, base hit, base hit. So I know better to underestimate those 70-year-old ball players. They're in it, so for sure. So Isaac, when for those that don't know, I know you played quite a few positions this season, but on the softball field, what's your preference like for position?
Um, my preference for position is shortstop. That is my favorite position to play. The best position I'm at is definitely first base. Um, I I have this tendency, I don't really care if I get hurt on the field. And I think that's probably really big if you want to be good at the game. Um, so I will stretch and I will jump and I will legit like do a split if I'm catching the ball. Um, and I think that's what makes me good at first base is because if the person's a little bit off or a little bit on, I'll catch it. So I would say my preference is probably first base because I know that I'm going to be good at it. I love shortstop. It's my favorite section of the field because I think that's where more of the action's at. So yeah.
So yeah, what the interesting thing about first base in the softball level in the major leagues, 99.9% of the time they're throwing it right at your glove. In the softball league, you know more than most. If you're playing first base in softball, you're probably getting balls thrown in the dirt. You're probably getting balls thrown over your head, to the left of you, to the right of you. So that is something you got to always be prepared for any kind of throw that's going to come your way over there, for
Yeah.
sure. So what I'd like to chat about, and then I'll ask Darren this question first, but so talking about the rules of softball versus the rules of baseball. And I know, Isaac, you're not too familiar with the baseball side on the professional level, but there's some rules now that are on the softball field that are being used in the major league level. One of the ones we talk about a lot on the show is the ghost runner. So in extra innings, we didn't have a lot of extra inning games in the church league, but those that don't know, in extra innings in the softball league, it would be one pitch, meaning if the game is tied, if the pitch was a ball and you didn't swing, you get to walk to first. If the pitch was a strike and you didn't swing, that counts as an out. Or if you hit a foul ball, that's an out. But you also get a runner starting the inning at second base. So they're already halfway from home to score. So we don't see the one pitch, thank goodness, in Major League Baseball. We see the ghost runner. And I'm pretty sure your stance hasn't changed, Darren, with that. Would you be more opt to it? So let's look at it from a different perspective. If it got to the 12th inning, would you be okay with it? Thank you.
No.
Okay, just making sure you're smart. Okay.
No, it's just I don't like it. And again, I have coached Division I softball. I mean, top of the line Division I softball in college. I have been a head coach of a very competitive high school women's softball team. And I played competitive modified fast pitch on concrete, mind you. We made the championship. Didn't win it, we lost in 7. No, I don't understand. These are athletes, and there is a joy to what people are taking out of the game of baseball and compare it here with softball. The same thing. I understand softball, you got to go to work on Monday. I get it, and nobody wants to get hurt. But in baseball, it's chess. It's you know what? I've faced him 3 times. What am I going to do this 4th time? Well, if I'm doing this one pitch, ghost running nonsense, it just means let's go home and argue with our significant other. What are you doing? It's just, it takes the fun out of the game. It takes the strategy out of the game. It takes the attention out of the game. And here's the thing, if you don't have the attention span to play into 16 innings every once in a while, don't play it all.
Yeah, and that's something we both agree with for sure.
I don't know much about. I don't really watch baseball, right? Like I like what's it called, MLB. But I am a football fan for sure, and I don't know if you guys noticed the change they did to the end for like overtime. You guys were talking about like overtime, like last inning,
Right.
basically the overtime. The overtime for football now, it used to be first team to score would win, but now the overtime is basically the points are reset to 0, and they restart the game. Basically, you get a whole nother quarter, and you guys can go back and forth, but even back and forth until that quarter's done. I I feel like that would be a way better way of doing it than how it used to be done, where they would just end the game by the next person who scores. But by doing the basically restarting, if they did that in baseball, I think that would be a good way to do it too. Like basically, if you both have the same amount of points, just end it and then do another inning, double-sided, and then be done.
I don't understand why we have to change the rules because somebody is going to be tired in the morning.
Yeah.
I just play like in the NFL. Don't even get me started. They're putting the mushroom caps on now. They might as well just play, two-hand touch,
Right.
because it used to be 15 minutes in overtime, and now it's what, 10 minutes. I think there's a nap. I'm not sure. I think there's a juice box. There's
No, yeah.
nothing tough anymore about
People
it.
tell
And
me
I don't.
that
I don't
American.
even, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I said people tell me that American football is is more dangerous than rugby overseas, and I'm like, they don't wear any protection.
No.
I said I would like to try that over here. You guys don't wear any protection. You guys are gonna be all scared, broken bones, and then say that you guys can't play.
I played college football. Trust me, and I coach college football. Rugby is a lot tougher. I'll tell you right now. Right now, in terms of body mass, football is a lot bigger, but lacrosse will give you a run for the money in America right now because they're not wearing any equipment and they are just running hard.
Yeah.
Let's recap football real quick. And I love football. Don't get me wrong. Here we go. Ready? We come out in the field. We hold hands in a circle. We hold hands in a circle, and then a guy on a microphone talks to somebody else on a microphone and gives them the play. Then on the count of three, we all clap together. We walk to the line, and then we run a play that was called in from the headset. And then what do we get to do? We get to walk back to the huddle while they show us the replay 5 times. That's not the football I grew up with. Continue. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Wow.
Like we look at things like, for example, let's say that you're taking a child, to work. Maybe the child doesn't have school. Okay, you want to come with me, but you're gonna have to be good because I have to work and I have to get work done.
Yes.
If you're gonna go to a ball game, you have to let the person know, hey, I know once it gets to the 8th inning, you're gonna be ready to go. We're staying till the end, whether that means 9 innings, 10 innings, or 15 innings. So if you're gonna come with me, what the expectation is. Don't try to get out of here earlier unless it's like a blowout. So just some other quick rule differences. So obviously in the softball leagues, you can't bunt, you can't lead off, you can't steal. Although some people do try to get away with that. And at least in the softball side, you can't bunt, but you can, as long as you basically that bat goes over the plate and into like a half swing, you can at least do that, but you can't stop the bat at any point in the softball league. I don't think if we had people stealing or leading off, I don't think we'd ever throw anyone out. They're just too close, the bases, compared to MLB. We don't have those kind of arms there. A lot of the softball leagues, in terms of home run, obviously Major League Baseball, you can hit as many as you want. Softball leagues, like in most church leagues, you just get that one home run, and then after that, it's an automatic inning ending out for the entire team. Some leagues, it's just an out. Just kind of depends with that. Of course, if you're playing any kind of co-ed ball on the softball level, you have that 180 line where everybody in the outfield has to stand behind that line, unless the girl that's batting doesn't want the girl ball. That's, you have that. A lot of girls, though, lately, when they think are opting to hit the bigger ball if they're playing co-ed, it's just an easier chance. The small ball goes farther, but the bigger ball is easier to hit, most would say, with that. So one thing I love talking about, though, with softball is getting a good practice in, because and Darren, I'll start with you and then Isaac. So if you were in charge of a softball practice, right? So you want everybody involved. So you don't want to just stand at the plate and hit to somebody and then say plays here. That's important, but then you have 9 people standing around and stuff. So you have to make it a way that's engaging. So I always prefer the smaller practices. Yes, it's great to have all 15 people there, but I love nothing more than taking 2 or 3 people to the field and working on something in repetition. Because and Isaac, this, in a softball game, most of the time you're not getting a good pitch to swing. And if you do swing, it's that 1, 2, 3 bats at most for the night. Whereas, hitting off the tee, I don't encourage going in batting cages because those pitches go all over the place. And if you don't have the right pitcher, even at the field, so tee is really the way to go, even in as an adult, because it's just getting repetition and at bats and stuff. So one thing I love doing on the softball level is I love doing the scrimmages. If you have enough people, if you do have a lot of people, you're constantly moving, everybody's doing something, you're playing different positions, you're learning different positions. I also love going over hypotheticals with everybody huddle, like, hey, so and so, what would you do if the play is here, or if the runner's on second, the ball's hit to here, what do you do? Those kinds of things. So Darren, I'll ask you this first. So if you were to tomorrow have to be in charge of running a softball practice, what are some effective drills kind of outside the box that you would look at doing?
So I like getting the whole, so again, different strokes, and not that one's right or one's wrong. I like getting the whole team together. I just believe in that whole team bonding. There's time for individuals, but what I do is I break it up into sections. So if you have 15, for example, 5, 5, 5. So we'll first be starting with stretching and slow running, and we're doing some stability drills because I don't want anybody getting hurt. That's what we started. Second of all, so for example, we might do the first group is opening up hips, left side, right side, even to play in the infield or outfield, to go back on balls so that they're not going to fall over on themselves. So that's what one group of 5 is doing for, let's say, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. The other group might be working on running the bases because there's an art to that. And the third group is working on getting grounders, or pivots. So, and I always would email the team the night before. These are the 3 stages that we're going to rotate. So we're going to move to the left. So, station 1 is the opening up hips. Station 2 might be running. Station 3, might be throwing or pivots. Sometimes I say leave the gloves home. They used to hate when I'd say leave the bats home, but we got to work on that stuff. You got to work on that stuff, and that keeps it fun. That keeps it moving. One thing that I really hate is when people are just standing around not doing anything. Because listen, you're here for a healthy heart, healthy life, healthy mind, and get to know the game. And I'm a big believer in skull sessions. Let's talk philosophy. Let's talk philosophy. If we know, for example, that there's only going to be 1 pitch in extra innings, what are you going to do with that? You got to choke up a little bit. You want to go one way. The pitch is probably going to put it to the outside. If the pitch is smart, they're going to put it a borderline strike, but you got to swing. You got to expand your strike zone because the umpire is going to, probably, call you out if it's close. Those little things so people know what to do. The one thing I like to do in every practice is nobody leaves that practice wondering what happened.
Yeah, I like that. Very, very well said. And those are some excellent ideas because I love the whole stations and stuff because you're, getting a little bit in each area. Because sometimes too, if you do have everyone, sometimes you're giving someone reps at a position that that they're never going to play, or that anytime soon this person's not going to be a pitcher, so I don't need to give them reps at that. That's more for like a fun practice. So Isaac, let me ask you this. So obviously everyone loves hitting more side than the defensive side, but like where you're at now, you just finished your 3rd season. If you were wanting to improve your game, your personal game, do you feel like you would benefit more from a batting practice or from a fielding practice? Where do you feel like you have the most growth that you need?
So I don't know if you remember, but in my 2nd season, my hits were perfect every time. It was really different. From the 1st season, I was okay. The 3rd season, I wasn't really, really sure why as to like how it like hit like that. Like it wasn't like hitting the as same way as it wasn't the 2nd season was going out. Well, I remember I would say a batting practice would probably be good for me. I stopped doing something. I was gonna try to answer the question you had asked Darren before about the practices, how he would do it. I I would think, to answer your question now, I would say I would want a batting practice though.
Okay. Yeah, I think that for your personal growth, for example, that first season, you were just learning how to do this thing, right? And so you were just kind of swinging any pitch that was good, and you didn't really have a rhyme or reason to your swing. You just kind of swing. But season 2 came around, and you were waiting on the ball, you were driving the ball, you were swinging all the way through. Then season 3, I call it like the sophomore slump, where it's like, you know what, I figured this hitting thing out, and now I'm kind of didn't get a hit this game. Let me try extra hard, and then all of a sudden you're in a slump, and everybody goes through the slump. But what happened, Isaac, too, for you was come the week before playoffs started, all of a sudden you started getting that swing back, and
Yeah.
you had an at bat. Like there were some games where you just played the field, and some games you didn't have an at bat. But I knew that you were going to be one of the guys when we got to playoffs that was going to be one of the 10 that was going to play every inning of every game. And you showed up, and you got it. Sometimes just takes that one hit to get out of that slump. And that's what happened. And all of a sudden you were back to driving the ball. And it's hard when you have some time off, like the season, there's no, oftentimes you have 2, 3, 4 months between seasons. It's hard to get that swing back when you are away for so long. For sure.
I have this really strange training technique that I was doing during the off season between season 1 and season 2. I really love, even if I'm working out or training for a sport or anything, I love doing manual versions of the sport or what I'm trying to accomplish. Like in the sense of you go to the gym and there's a whole bunch of machines, right? But I would much rather go stand outside and chop wood as my sense of working out. You're getting the same exact muscle group working, but you're working on something like that or swinging things. So what I did to get a stronger part on my swing was I would start with a bat, right? I have one of these things that you connect to a loop, and it would swing and it would come back. So you get like 500 swings an hour. And I was out there for like 3 hours just swinging nonstop. I was so tired. But I started with the bat trying to learn how to swing. Then I got all the way up to using a 5 to 7 pound log of wood.
Wow.
It was just like that thick. And I would swing it with the same amount of power, and I would just and I got all the way up to this one that I could barely grab with both hands. But once I did grab it, I would swing it. And then when I would go back to the bat, it would just and I actually knocked it off the metal. Now the thing's broken. I actually broke the thing when I went back to the bat. The bat has a little spot in it, but no matter. That really practiced. And then when I came to use it on the game, I was able to hit. I wasn't hitting infield anymore. I used to be hitting infield. And then when I did that, now I shot past the line because I got the swing down with really, really heavy weight. So I think that's mainly, I think that was a big part.
That was like, yeah. So I would definitely encourage you. One of the things that I do is when you're in that on deck circle, use 2 bats. That may not be the piece of wood, but it always will make the ball or the swing feel that much better if you take about 7 or 8 practice swings with 2 bats versus just the one, because then that bat feels a little bit lighter, and then you're going to swing through and follow through a little bit harder along the way. So one of the next, one more area that I really want to touch with before we kind of finish things up here, I want to talk about sportsmanship and umpires. Those that play softball knows that those are 2 key elements. Sportsmanship, number 1, like Darren had mentioned earlier, we're all there. We all have jobs the next day. So we don't want a line drive to the skull. We don't want people getting injured, things like that. So some leagues will have the pitching net, some do not. We're actually trying to get that where we're at. But with sportsmanship, you always have to build each other up. If there is an issue with the teammate where they're making constant errors, obviously the coach is aware of that. So a teammate calling out another teammate in that situation is only going to make things worse. You can come to the coach in privacy and say, hey, maybe we should do this, but it can be discouraging to that other player. And again, the coach is already aware of it. So I think that's why we got so much better so quickly, was that we learned that we build each other up, no matter if it's a good outcome or a bad outcome. If we try to put a positive spin on everything, and without being too obnoxious to the other teams, anything like that. You don't want to show them up either, or excessive celebrating and stuff, but not like NFL, where I feel like, you look the wrong way and they're going to throw a flagrant foul. I understand some things are a bit ridiculous in touchdown celebrations, but that's another thing that they've gotten just too soft with. But don't get me started on that one. But so with sportsmanship also comes along when the umpires just have a really bad day. No one's going to go to an umpire and say, "Good job, Phil. You called a great one today." Phil can call 50 great games in a row. He's never going to get a thumbs up from most people. The second Phil makes a bad call, forget it. And so we'll let you both kind of speak on this, but Isaac's aware there was one game this season, and I feel like this game got us to be a better team. We had a situation, Darren, where we were up by, I want to say 3 runs. And so the other team had we were going into the last inning. And so we just had to hold them to 3 runs. First 2 people get out. We're thinking we've got this game in the bag. All of a sudden, everything went wrong, like everything. And there was a play, bases loaded, hit right in front of me at home plate. I got the ball, stepped on home plate, threw it to third. It was a bad throw, but I got the force out at home. Umpire didn't see. He said that he didn't think I touched the plate with my foot. So we called the runner safe. So I had to bite my tongue. I kind of was like, "Are you sure?" "I'm pretty sure I did." "No, okay, whatever." Then again, the next batter, he had the wrong amount of balls in the count, and let the runner walk to first base when he didn't even have 4 balls yet. And then all of a sudden, every single person on the team dropped ball after ball after ball. And then the umpire, Darren, made a comment that was, "You guys are like the bad news bears out there. Get it together," which I thought was completely inappropriate. I know
it is. I'd report him.
Right now, in
To help
certain
him be
leagues,
a
I get
better
it. Like
person.
if you're in a relationship with that umpire where you're just goofing around, but you don't know us from Adam, and so that's not appropriate in that setting. We're already, obviously you can see that we're already feeling horrible about dropping everything. I don't know what was going on, but so he actually proceeded to say, "I can say whatever I want. I don't care if you're Christians. I can say whatever I want, wherever I want." And I had to walk away. I almost I don't get mad about things, but I was about to lose it. But we were a better team after that, because I think we just got kicked in the mouth, kicked in the gut, and we're like, "You know what? We're better than this. That was just one bad game. That doesn't define us." So Darren, if you want to touch, and then Isaac, about the role of umpires in the softball league and stuff, because obviously they're making pretty good money. It's not like they're making $5 a game. Like most down here make about $20 to $25 a game, 4 games a night. You're walking out with $100 just watching softball games. So I want to understand they want to get home, but they rush the 1 hour time limit, turns into 52 minutes. Just there's some grumpy ones, and then there's some that just are there and having a great time and engage and stuff. So what are your thoughts on the umpires on the softball level?
I think. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Isaac. You first. You go ahead.
Okay. I mean, I think some of them were pretty good. I mean, I've had my own runnings with the from the first season, hitting him in the bat. That was like a complete accident. I was not my fault at all. I know it wasn't my fault. I know I did throw the bat because I didn't know that I wasn't allowed to let go of the bat after swinging, since it was new, right? I didn't know I was supposed to place it down. But on the other hand of things, the ump is not supposed to be standing behind the person on the swing side. They're supposed to be on the opposite side of the batter. They're supposed to be, so if he's swinging from right, they're supposed to be standing right behind the lefty's box. But I was swinging from right, and he was behind the right box. So even if I was to swing completely and do a spin because I lost control of my feet, I would have smacked him in the head with the bat, even if I didn't let go of it. So he was in the wrong spot. So which makes me think that the people that they have doing the umpires don't really know the rules or read rule books. I'm a really big rule book reader, and I go find the details when it comes to things like that within my job and things like that. So when I see people that aren't following the small things, makes me, the respect is different. I noticed that guy that did call us a whole bunch of names and things like that. He never showed up afterwards, so I don't know what happened with him. We never saw him
he just
again.
disappeared from the league. I asked just if we could just have an apology, because we had a lot of youth on our team at the time, 7 people under 18 years old. It just was not the right time and place for that. And we never saw him again. So maybe he realized the error of his ways, or he was just that grumpy and went away. But Darren, what were you going to say?
I was going to say it's a couple of things. I mean, all rolled into one. It's the macro and the micro, right? So the micro is, let's say that Mike is the manager. His job is to talk to the umpire. Nobody else. That's not your job. Nobody else's job. So it doesn't matter if you feel slighted. It doesn't matter if you're upset. It's Michael's job. And that is a skill set that will help somebody the rest of their life. And so that's important. Now, Michael, to your point also, however, they have to be professional. You have the right, and in fact, I think the obligation to protect your players like you did. And you have to write up a report. There has to be a protocol in place. And you say, listen, look, I don't know if you're late. You got to get home for dinner. I don't know what the problem is, sir. But right now, we started at 7. It's 7:52, and you're calling the game. And I'm going to write you up. I'm going to hold you accountable. You're going to hold, I get held accountable, they get held accountable. So I think that's the important thing. And there are going to be times, it's reality, right? It's life. Change the sport for a second. My daughter, one time, went down to the coast, and they don't like people that lived in Fresno, Clovis. And they just don't. And we had this horrific referee. And the rest of them were great, but he just did not like them and was calling all sorts of fouls. And we just had to live with it. It's reality. Nobody dies. It's upsetting that somebody would do that because they wanted the little kid up the street to win the trophy or whatever the case may be. But you deal with it. And you don't play victim. You say, look, sometimes it rains on days you want to have a picnic, right? You have all I ask for is consistency in an official, even if that means that they're lousy. Just be lousy on both sides.
Yeah,
don't be lousy on my side. I'm going to write you up.
Yep, like a big common stop. Our biggest one, I think, at least if they were consistent or not, was we have a mat that goes behind home plate that's pretty long, and umpires tend to forget that there's still, even though if it hits the mat, it's a strike. There's still the 10-foot arc rule. I feel like sometimes the pitcher is about to hit a flying by pigeon, and then it lands on the mat, and they call it a strike, and they forget like it can't go that high. And sometimes they'll call the pitch before it even passes. They're like flat or illegal, or things like that. You just never know. The guy might swing. You got to kind of hold back on that. Another missed one is the ball, if it hits home plate, is a ball. It is not a strike. And you can tell the difference between,
you can hear it.
Yeah, hitting plate versus hitting soft mat. So one of the problems is the mats that are constructed don't fit home plate very well. So there's like a little gap. And he was like, "Oh, that one hit both the plate and 50 pitches, and it's hit." So that's a big one. So, but thank you, Isaac, for coming on.
Let me ask a quick question, serious question. What ball do you use? What kind of ball do you use?
So it's constantly. So the league that we play in is an ASA league. So we have to use specific balls that are for ASA or USA. So nothing U-trip. So the bats that we use have to be ASA as well. So the ball, the name of the ball that we're using now, I can tell you, but it'll change a season from now.
Gotcha.
They're a little bit more flight restricted, but not to the point where it's like sounds like a dead ball. Like the balls are still hit very well. It's just they're not hit to the point where it can seriously injure somebody. Those bats aren't designed for that. In a lot of the USSSA leagues, you're spending $300, $400, $500 on a bat, and Johnny Q-Tip is out there 103 pounds soaking wet hitting bombs. And it's like he barely lifted his arms and he's hitting a ball 450 feet.
Just the fact that you spend $300 on a bat is so, again, you do you. To me, no way.
Yeah, we would do that as a team, like a joint purchase.
Right.
There was actually one coach because we just had one of my bats, and it was an aluminum, but it wasn't composite. And in softball, you need to have composite to really. And he just gifted us a bat in the middle of. I don't know who the guy was and what team he plays for, but that was awesome. That was the bat that changed my softball life. had some of the best seasons I've ever had with that bat. So I'm grateful. So, but
Great.
Isaac, before we go, just one more time, I see your shirt. We had Pastor Aaron Edwards Hall on a couple episodes ago with Eileen as well, and he was talking about how he went from full-time comedy to full-time ministry as a pastor. So I see that Free Chapel shirt on. For those listening that may not know what that is, if you want a quick 30 seconds about what that is?
Yeah, so Free Chapel is a church that I don't know if you heard it, it's in Gainesville, Georgia. They've got 5 campuses on the East Coast, and they've got on one campus over in California. And Free Chapel is a non-denomination church run by Jensen Franklin, and he has a college. That church has a college that started in 2016 that I will be attending, and I'm excited for that. But
Congratulations. That's
Yeah.
that's excellent.
Yeah, I got my ministerial practicum is what I'm going for.
Wonderful.
With worship and youth, because
That's awesome.
and they got sports, so I'm excited. Maybe I could give off my they got baseball, so I'll see if I can try to translate this.
Yeah, you're
Let's
moving
do
to a state that has year round. Like, it's not like you're moving to Alaska where you can't play softball 7 months a year. You move into Georgia, you'll still maybe hot there, but you'll still get to play your softball if you want to, or other sports.
Yeah.
So, but
That's
thank you,
great.
Isaac, for coming on. Thank you, Darren, as always. And until next time, everyone, we'll see you around the ballpark.